If you've ever taught children, either at a Title I school or your own children, then you probably have heard this.
Man, I hate reading.
Or you might have heard this one.
Man, this is boring.
Or better yet, I know you've heard this one.
Reading is stupid.
You see, children, like most humans, are making up excuses when they say things like this, simply because they're trying to avoid doing something that seems a little too challenging for them.
And that is why in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help any struggling reader enjoy reading. And I guarantee you, these are going to be tips that you've never heard before. And make sure you stick around all the way to the end, because the last one is my favorite one. Let me get situated real quick so we can get started. Hey, fun people! If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Aja. I'm an educational consultant who helps teachers and homeschool parents prevent teaching burnout by helping you manage all of your effective reading instruction. That means I make reading and teaching reading as fun, simple, and systematic as possible so you can teach smarter and not harder. And in this video, I'm going to do just that by sharing with you 5 tips to help any struggling reader. And I guarantee you, these are going to be tips that you've never heard of before. Most readers become struggling readers simply because they are lacking foundational skills in phonics. And that is why our first tip is to teach children how to break down unknown words into syllables. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. When a struggling reader is reading a passage or a sentence and they come across a word that they do not know, they are trying to figure out how to, quote unquote, sound it out. And if they are lacking those foundational skills, then they do not have the tools they need to do just that. And sometimes when you're teaching 5th grade or upper elementary, you don't have all of the time built in your schedule to go back to letter sounds. Think about a pharmacist. What a pharmacist's job is to identify the need, and then they give you the prescription of what you need. That is what you are going to do. Tip number 1 is to dedicate 15 minutes per day teaching explicit phonics instruction, even if you're teaching 5th grade. During those 15 minutes a day, you are going to teach your struggling readers exactly what they need to know in order to break down unknown words into syllables. In doing this, your struggling readers will finally have the tools that they need to decode and break down any unknown word they come across. Now, if you're like, Aja, I have no idea how to do that, can you show me? Absolutely. Join my Syllable bootcamp, in which I will break down exactly how to do this with only 15 minutes per day. You will actually become the master of teaching syllable types and even spelling patterns in order to prescribe your struggling reader the prescription that they actually need to close in their learning gap. Now, our next tip is to actually implement reading rewards. Remember, struggling readers are actually really battling confidence when it comes to reading, and this is what makes them tend to begin to hate reading. So if you change their confidence, then you will change the way that they see reading. So what you'll do is celebrate each one of their milestones. The more you celebrate their milestones in reading, the more excited they'll get when it comes to reading, and the more that they'll actually buy into your reading instruction. Now, during our classroom setup series, I did this video where I broke down the importance of reading rewards and how that leads to getting children to want to read independently. So I'm not going to do that in this video, so make sure you watch that video after this video. Now, this next tip, you might be like, but the next tip is actually to give your struggling readers really easy books to read. Let me explain now. You have to put yourself in the mindset of a struggling reader. So let's say a child is in the 4th grade, but they're reading on a 1st grade level. This means every time they see stories and passages and books in their classroom, they are completely overwhelmed because they do not understand how to read the books. So if you give that same struggling reader a book that's really easy for them, even if it's on a kindergarten reading level, that will will help start to boost their confidence when it comes to reading. Most struggling readers hate to read, so you want to double down on finding ways to get them to buy into reading and start enjoying reading, and then you can kind of increase the complexity level. Now we're talking about confidence, so let me kind of share how you would do this. So you will want to do this one-on-one with a struggling reader. This way they won't be embarrassed. So you can do like a lunch and learn, maybe early in the morning. You would give them a book that's either on their independent reading level or maybe something that's even easier for them that they can fly through. Now, while they're reading this easy book, do not interrupt them. Seem very engaged and allow them to go through this book. When it's over, I want you to compliment them. Find things that they did well. Was it expression? Did they stop at punctuation? Did you see them decoding unknown words? Whatever it is that they did well, I want you to double down and compliment them on that. Then slowly but surely you'll continue to do this, and I want you to then start increasing the complexity level of the text. So you'll start off with something really easy, and then you'll go to their independent reading level, and then eventually you'll go to their instructional level. And once you finally get to the instructional level, then you can slowly reel them in, giving them tips and strategies in order to decode the unknown words. Now, doing this correctly, you will see a child go from hating to read to actually trying and enjoying reading because you have built up their confidence. Now, our first tip was actually dealing with explicit and systematic phonics instruction, but a lot of struggling readers also really struggle when it just comes to using clues within text to determine unknown words. So what do you do with a child that does not have any phonics background and they just need a few strategies to use other clues to determine unknown words? And our next tip is to teach reading strategies, both decoding strategies and comprehension strategies. Imagine building a house if you did not have any tools. You would probably be very unsuccessful. Think about it. You need a hammer, you need screwdrivers, you need nail guns. There are so many different tools you need in your tool belt in order to build a house, especially a stable house. Well, that's the exact same way reading is. If you want children to be fluent readers, then you need to make sure they have all the strategies or tools in their tool belt. And that's exactly what strategies do. Decoding strategies allow children to tackle unknown words by using other clues, whether it be clues in the picture, whether it be beginning sounds, whatever it is, they are able to use other clues to determine unknown words. With comprehension strategies, those are tools that children need in order to internalize the text so that they can actually comprehend what it is that the text is saying. This is especially important if you're trying to teach things like inferencing or main idea that are not explicitly stated in the text. Children will completely bomb those standards if you do not give them the proper comprehension strategies that they need in order to comprehend the story. Now, this next tip is my favorite one, and every time teachers see me do this on a struggling reader, they're like, oh my goodness, I never knew you could do that. And I'm about to give you some real tea, so I hope you have your popcorn out and you are ready for this. The next tip is to not make a struggling reader read. Like I said earlier, you have to put yourself in the mind of a struggling reader. Reading gives them anxiety, it makes them feel less than, it gives them all sorts of insecurities. So I want you to put the books on the bookshelf just for a moment. What you're gonna do is build up their confidence without using books. Let me just explain what I mean by this. What you will do is teach your grade level standards using clips or videos or commercials without ever opening a book. You can actually get a child to master the concept of main idea and supporting details by using small little video clips. Once a child truly understands theme, main idea, supporting detail, all of their grade level standards, then you will take those skills and slowly start to implement actual text. So if you're teaching main idea, you can share with the child, hey, you just mastered how to identify main idea. So now we're gonna try to do that with a story. And then you're gonna apply the exact same questioning techniques that you use with this video with the actual story. This is how I get struggling children to actually master standards, and I cannot wait for you to try this in your classroom. Not only am I excited for you to implement these tips in your classroom or teaching environment, but I'm even more excited to welcome you into the Syllable Bootcamp. This experience is going to be life-changing. And if you're like, wait, but you went over some decoding strategies, I need to know more about that, then you need to watch this video where I break down all 9 decoding strategies. See you in that video!